This is a simple do-it-yourself method of making alterations in one's life which cannot be achieved by willpower alone. It goes beyond the simple reiterative principles of Qism or any short-term methods of boosting willpower. These methods are successfully used to cure, prevent, or alleviate a wide variety of complaints, but their application is not restricted to the remedial. They are being adopted as part of the personal techniques of many businessmen and professional men and women, so that they may achieve greater efficiency with less wear and tear on the human machine. A knowledge of natural laws is giving contemporary man ever increasing ability to harness and control electronic and atomic energy. In a similar way, an extension of his knowledge of laws governing mental and emotional energies gives him increased control over his own mental and emotional life. Nervous energy can be diverted into constructive channels instead of being fused off in damaging tensions or negative thoughts and emotions. Most of us have witnessed the efforts of young children trying to write, faces screwed up, heads craned forward, shoulders hunched, tension in every limb and feature. During this ill-coordinated effort to make a few lines on paper with a pencil, about 100 times the necessary energy is being employed. People suffering from nervous tension resemble these small children, but unlike them, many will not correct their mistakes and later, through not knowing how to relax inner tensions, ruin their health through well-meant but wrongfully directed efforts. Those who have acquired their own personal techniques of relaxing and using self-suggestions or auto-hypnosis usually accomplish much more work than ordinary people, and in times of crisis or difficulty, circumstances can act with a cool, calm detachment. Sir Winston Churchill was an excellent example of mental control and personal technique. His competent handling of men and events arose out of his ability to maintain his own mental clarity, energy, and zest for work, which in turn arose out of his ability to relax well. Sir Winston once asked if a certain man had the ability to relax, and on hearing that he had not, remarked, "He will not last." This comment could be made of many businessmen. Nervous strain is inseparable from positions of responsibility today, and stress complaints are now occupational risks of those in executive positions. Those people who had tremendous capacity for work and leadership, Caesar, Napoleon, Leonardo da Vinci, Gandhi, Michelangelo, Schwarzer, Nuffield, Nelson, Churchill, and numerous others did not rely on driving themselves, but had developed more informed methods of achieving peak performances of any task they undertook. The list of their qualities is almost identical. They had an unfailing confidence in themselves, unusual powers of mental concentration, retentive memories, the ability to influence others, unusual capacities for work, and the ability to sleep for short periods whenever they chose to do so. It might be thought that these men were fortunate and that they had been endowed with outstanding qualities at birth. But in most cases, this was not so. These qualities were discovered during periods of adversity. They discovered that the average man uses only a fraction of his real potential. They that they could make greater use of their own latent abilities, that this could be achieved without plundering their reserves of energy. Sometimes the handbook of a motor car contains a simple explanation of how the engine works. The simplest explanation of how the human machine operates is to assume that man has two minds, a conscious mind and an unconscious mind. These two minds are separated by some form of barrier or curtain. The conscious mind does the thinking and willing, and behind the curtain, which separates these two minds, the unconscious mind, working quietly in the background, regulates the major part of the activities necessary for living. It transforms food and oxygen into tissues and energy. It regulates the routine functions, coordinating the activities of all the organs of the body, the heart, stomach, liver, lungs, etc. It superintends and the maintenance and repairs which the body requires. Broken bones will knit, torn flesh will heal, antitoxins will be manufactured to combat fevers, and in addition to this, the unconscious mind also controls almost all the functions of the physical and emotional life. It has absolute power over the routine functions. Nature, it has been said, would not trust man to digest his food by his own efforts, because through his carelessness or forgetfulness, he would soon starve to death. The unconscious mind, with robot-like efficiency, controls all the organic functions of the body, and consciously man is unaware of all this complex inner activity. This arrangement leaves the conscious mind free to attend to activities in the outside world, and the arrangement works very satisfactorily if nothing happens to upset the automatic activity of the unconscious mind. Nervous tension is the most common cause of interference with what should be the smoothly coordinated operations of the unconscious mind. The first intimation a man has that something is wrong may be a mild attack of indigestion, or he feels nervy and cannot relax, or maybe he is not sleeping well. He may well become aware that the robot unconscious mind is keeping his tension switched on and that he cannot get instructions through to switch it off. This is the condition loosely described as nervous tension and is the basic cause of most stress complaints. Animals possess a much simpler nervous system and lead a less complicated life than we humans. Because of this, we can see by observing them in the wild state what happens under stress. In Kenya, I once saw a herd of zebra grazing quietly. Suddenly, a lioness, which had crept near them under the cover of some undergrowth, made a charge. But immediately she appeared in the open, the whole herd galloped off. The lioness, failing to get within striking distance, soon gave up the chase. The zebra gradually slackened their pace, and as the lioness stopped, although they had only moved a short distance, they also stopped, and to my surprise, began grazing again as though nothing had happened. It will illustrate how the physical and nervous system operates if we examine what happens to the zebra during this alarm. Immediately an alarm is given, chemical and physical changes in the body take place at lightning speed. Sugar from the liver, together with secretions from the adrenal glands, is released into the bloodstream. Blood pressure rises, the animal is poised, sensed, alerted, muscles tensed, ready for instant action, either to take refuge in flight or to stand and fight. All other body processes, such as digestion, which are not essential to deal with the emergency, are suspended. When the danger has passed, all tensions subside, digestive processes are resumed, and all activities go back to normal. Man has a much more complicated nervous system than the zebra, and because of this and the demands of life today, his tensions do not switch off as easily as those of an animal. As a result, few people are immune from nervous tension, and the prevalence of these tensions can be gathered from the frequent statements by medical authorities that the major part of all illness is caused by unsolved and emotional problems, that is, by nervous tension. With many people today, the unconscious mind is in a semi-permanent state of alert, creating a wide variety of psychosomatic nervous complaints, but it can be influenced to switch off unnecessary tensions and so allow the body's natural recuperative powers to restore the rhythm of physical, mental, and emotional functioning, and also at the same time to allow constructive self-suggestions to be implanted in the unconscious mind to deal with specific and individual problems. The potential scope and value of the hypnotic, auto-hypnotic, and self-suggestion techniques in helping others and oneself is only fully realized by those who have some experience of these techniques. The famous scientist J.B.S. Haldane gives some indication of the promise these techniques have for mankind in the following comment. Anyone who has seen even a single example of the power of hypnotism and suggestion must realize that the face of the world and the possibilities of existence will be totally altered when we can control their effects and standardize their applications as has been possible. For example, with drugs which were once regarded as equally magical. The hypnotic and modern suggestion techniques are in the same position today as penicillin and other antibiotics were a generation ago. At that time, many people desperately needed the help that these precious drugs could give them, but not sufficient was known of their large-scale manufacture to make them freely available. The self-hypnotic and self-suggestion techniques taught in this course have been a turning point in the lives of many people, not only in curing ailments but in overcoming the problems of everyday life.